Stop whatever you're doing right now. Seriously, put your phone in landscape mode, sit up straight and give me 2 minutes of your full attention. Because what I'm about to tell you today is not just another piece of generic content you've already seen 1,000 times. This is not a list of ready-made lines for you to copy and paste into your text hoping for a miracle. What I'm going to give you here is something I spent years studying, observing and learning through real conversations with real women who told me in incredible detail exactly what a man said or did that won them over completely. And today, for the first time, I'm putting all of that into a list that any man can apply, regardless of your looks, your money, or your situation. Because the secret isn't any of those things. The secret is in how you make her feel when you talk to her. And that's exactly what we're going to explore together today. Right off the bat, I want to ask you a question and I want you to answer honestly in the comments. Do you consider yourself a man who knows how to compliment a woman, or do you still feel that nervous knot in your stomach not knowing exactly what to say? Drop it in the comments. No judgment at all, because everyone's answer here is going to be way more similar than you think. Because look, I'm going to be completely honest with you from the start. And that's something I always prioritize on this channel. Most men don't know how to give a compliment. And it's not because they're bad at it. It's because nobody ever taught them the difference between a compliment that goes in one ear and out the other and a compliment she holds on to forever. From an early age, what men learn is that complimenting a woman's appearance is the way to go. You're beautiful. Your eyes are incredible. You have a perfect smile. And those lines aren't wrong, okay? The problem is they're predictable. They're too safe. And when a line is too safe, it doesn't trigger any emotion. It doesn't move anything. It goes in one ear and out the other while she's already replying to the next guy on Instagram. I remember once when a close friend of mine showed up at my house absolutely head over heels for a man she had just met at an event. I've known her for over 10 years. I know exactly the type of man she usually goes for. And this guy didn't fit the profile at all. He wasn't the best looking one in the room. He wasn't the highest earner. He didn't have the highest status. But she showed up with a glow in her eyes that I hadn't seen in a long time. And when I asked her what happened, she went quiet for a moment, like she was still processing it. Then she said, "He said something I will never forget." And then came the line. A single line. That completely transformed her perception of that man in a matter of seconds. I'll tell you what that line was later in this video. But first, I need you to understand the mechanism behind it, because without understanding the why, you'll use the right words in the completely wrong way. And here's the first big secret nobody tells you. The most powerful compliment a man can give a woman is not about who she is. It's about the effect she has. It's about what happens to you when she's around. And that changes everything. Think about this for a second. When someone comes up to you and says you're smart, you hear it, you say thanks, and you move on. But when someone comes up to you and says, "Do you know that when you walk into a room, the way people pay attention completely shifts?" You stop. You don't know what to say back. You start thinking about it hours later, in the shower, before bed, standing in line at the grocery store. Because that line didn't describe you. That line revealed something about you that you hadn't noticed yet. And that is exactly what the right compliments do in female psychology. They reveal. They don't describe. And there is an enormous difference between the two. Tell me something in the comments. Has anyone ever said something to you, not necessarily a compliment, but anything at all, that stayed in your head for days without you being able to explain why? It can be anyone. I want to know if you've ever felt that effect yourself. Because when I asked that same question to women over the years, the answer was almost always the same. Yes, and it was a man who said it. And when they described the line, it was rarely a classic compliment about appearance. It was a specific observation. It was something that showed that man was truly paying attention to her, not to her body, not to her photos, but to her as a person. To the way she thinks, the way she reacts, the effect she has on the people around her. And you know what that communicates to a woman? It communicates that you see her, that you see beyond the obvious. And in a world where every man comments gorgeous on a photo and thinks he's making progress, being the man who truly sees her puts you on a completely different level. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, do that right now before we continue. Because the content on this channel is serious, it's different, and I don't want you to miss a single new video. Click the subscribe button and hit the bell. It takes 2 seconds and make sure you never fall behind. I've studied female behavior and psychology for many years. I've read research from American and European universities on attraction, emotional bonding, and what makes a woman choose one man over another when both have similar qualities. I've talked to women in happy relationships and women who had ended relationships with men who were perfect on paper. And do you know what kept showing up in all those stories? A pattern. Always a pattern. Women who ended up with unexpected men who chose someone who wasn't the obvious choice always described a specific moment. A moment when that man said something no one else had ever said before. It wasn't necessarily a declaration of love. It wasn't a grand promise. It was a simple, precise line that landed in the right place at the right time. And that moment became the turning point, the before and after. And everything that happened from that point forward had that line as its foundation. I organized the best of that research into this list of 11 compliments. But I need to warn you about something before we start. Compliment number 7 is the most surprising one on the entire list. It's the one that generates the strongest reaction in women. The one that stays in their memory the longest, and paradoxically, it's the one fewest men use because it seems like it shouldn't work, but it does, with an absurd level of effectiveness. So if at any point you feel like skipping ahead in this video, don't skip that one. Stay with me until we get there. And before we get into the first compliment, I want to make one thing very clear to you, because this is going to determine whether these compliments work in your life or not. These lines are not scripts. They are not texts you copy and send and wait for results like it's some kind of math formula. What makes these lines work is not just the choice of words. It's the intention behind them. It's the fact that they only make sense when they come from a genuine observation, from a moment when you actually paid attention to her and had a real perception. When you use these lines with truth, with presence, with timing, with full awareness of what you're communicating, the effect is deep and lasting. When you use them as memorized scripts, she feels it. And then it backfires completely. So from this point forward, the invitation is for you to understand each compliment, absorb the logic behind it, and start using it when it's actually true for you. And speaking of using compliments genuinely, tell me here, do you usually compliment the women you're interested in, or do you hold back out of fear of coming across as desperate? That's one of the most common dilemmas I see in men, and I want to understand how it is for you. Comment below. Because that dilemma I just mentioned, to compliment or not to compliment, is actually one of the biggest traps men fall into. They swing between two extremes. Either they compliment too much in generic and repetitive ways, and she starts to feel like it costs nothing, like there's no value in it. Or they shut down completely out of fear of seeming needy, and then she simply feels nothing. The answer is neither extreme. The answer is a strategic compliment. Specific. Scarce enough to have weight. True enough to land deep. Unexpected enough that she can't put it in a box. And that is exactly the kind of compliment I'm going to give you now one by one, with the explanation of why it works, the right moment to use it, and what happens in her psychology when she hears it. Before we continue, if this video is already making sense to you, hit the like button right now. It seems like a small gesture, but it helps me a lot in getting the algorithm to show this content to more men who need it. And if you have a friend who's in this situation, who feels like he doesn't know how to connect with the women he wants, share this video with him right now. It might be the best thing you do for him this week. Let's get started. Compliment number 1. There's something about you that made me stop everything I was doing. Now I need you to pay close attention to this line because it seems simple, but there's an extremely powerful psychological mechanism hidden inside it. When you say, there's something about you, you don't specify what. And that gap is exactly what makes it all work. The human brain cannot tolerate incomplete information. When you open a question without answering it, the other person automatically starts searching for the answer on their own. She starts thinking, what did he notice about me? Was it the way I talk? My sense of humor? The way I move? And while she's trying to solve that mystery, she's thinking about you. You created a mental hook inside her head without her even realizing it. On top of that, the second part of the line, made me stop everything I was doing, communicates impact. It communicates that she's not one option among many. She's something that interrupted your natural flow. And women need to feel that they have that effect. Not out of vanity, but because that is how genuine attraction manifests. This line works especially well in a first meeting or in a conversation where you want to show her that she caught your attention in a way you didn't expect. Compliment number 2. You have an intelligence that I rarely see. This compliment exists in territory that almost no man explores, and that's exactly why it has a disproportionate impact. Her whole life, women are complimented on their appearance. In childhood, by adults. In adolescence, on social media. In adulthood, by men trying to get her attention. Appearance is the most common compliment she receives, and that's why it carries the least value. When you come in and compliment her intelligence, the way she thinks, the depth with which she analyzes things, you completely flip the dynamic. You become the man who sees her in a way others don't. And that creates a different kind of connection because she starts to associate your presence with the feeling of being truly seen. Not as a pretty face, but as a complex and interesting person. This compliment works even better when it comes after a conversation in which she genuinely said something intelligent or insightful. It's not something to throw out randomly. It's for the moment when she actually surprised you with an idea, a worldview, an analysis you weren't expecting. In that context, when you say it, it doesn't sound like a pickup line. It sounds like genuine recognition. And genuine recognition is something she will hold on to far more carefully than any compliment about her looks. Tell me here in the comments, have you ever complimented a woman on her intelligence, on the way she thinks, on how she sees the world? Or have you always stayed in the territory of appearance? I want to know. Comment below. Compliment number 3. You don't realize how magnetic you are, do you? The word magnetic is already powerful on its own. Magnetic is not an adjective people use in everyday conversation. It's not pretty, it's not sweet, it's not smart. Magnetic is a word that carries weight, that evokes something physical and inevitable. When you describe a person as magnetic, you're saying that she has a force of attraction that's independent of her will and the will of the people around her. But the smartest part of this compliment is the ending. You don't realize, do you? That part makes the compliment 10 times more effective. Because when you imply that she has a power she herself doesn't perceive, you activate in her a mix of humility, surprise, and curiosity. She wants to understand better. She wants to ask what you meant. And any conversation she starts from that point is already a conversation where you have her full attention. Beyond that, the question at the end transforms the compliment into an invitation for dialogue. It's not a statement she hears and closes. It's an opening she naturally wants to explore. Use this compliment when you sense that she doesn't fully realize the effect she has on people. And in most women who genuinely care about the people around them, that perception is real. Compliment number 4. I feel better when you're around. This compliment completely reverses the direction of what most men do. Most men compliment from the outside in. You are this, you are that. You have this or that quality. This compliment goes from the inside out. This is how I feel when you're present. And that reversal changes everything in her perception. Because when you talk about the effect she has on you, you're giving her real power. You're not just describing a quality she may or may not believe she has. You're reporting a concrete experience, your own transformation in her presence. And that she cannot question because you are the only source of that information. Beyond that, this kind of line creates an emotional bond almost immediately. She starts to associate her own presence with a better version of you. And naturally, she want to keep creating that effect. She want to be around. She want to know more about what exactly changes in you when she's there. You just created an emotional reason for her to want to see you more often. Without asking for anything, without pressure, simply by being honest about what you feel. Have you ever told someone, not necessarily a woman you're trying to pursue, but anyone at all, that you feel better in their presence? Comment here because the reactions people have to that kind of line are always incredibly revealing. Compliment number 5. Look at her. Let a slight smile come before you speak. You know what? You're one of those people who's impossible to ignore. The moment before this compliment is not a small detail. It's a structural part of the line. Because when you pause, when you look at her differently before speaking, you create involuntary anticipation. Her brain is already preparing for something important before you even open your mouth. And then when the line comes, it lands while she's at maximum attention. Impossible to ignore is a very specific construction. It doesn't say she's perfect, wonderful, or amazing. It says there's something about her that makes it impossible not to notice her presence. This is a compliment that goes deep because it touches something very primitive, the human need to be perceived, to truly exist in another person's eyes. Everyone wants to know that their presence is felt, that when you walk into a room, people notice, that when you speak, people listen. This compliment delivers that confirmation in a way she will never forget. And the look before speaking? It communicates that you're not just being polite, you're being honest. You're letting something slip that you were holding back. That detail is what separates a nice compliment from a compliment that truly lands. Compliment number 6. You make me a little nervous. And I like that. This one goes against everything most men have been taught about how to behave around a woman. The conventional wisdom says, don't show weakness, don't let her see that she's affecting you, keep your composure. And there's a part of that which makes sense. But admitting nervousness in a controlled, conscious, and intentional way is not weakness. It's a very sophisticated way of showing that she has a real effect on you. The difference between a man who gets nervous and doesn't know what he's doing and a man who says, "You make me nervous and I like it," is enormous. The first communicates insecurity. The second communicates presence, self-awareness, and courage. You're saying, "I feel something, I know I feel it, and I have enough confidence to admit that without needing to hide it." And the second part of the line, "and I like that," transforms the vulnerability into power. You're not complaining. You're not asking her to take care of you. You're saying that this state of being affected by her presence is something you appreciate. And that puts her in a very special position. She understands that she has an effect on you and that this effect is welcome. And you? Can you admit when someone truly affects you, or do you keep it to yourself out of fear of how it will come across? Comment below because it says a lot about the pattern of relationships you tend to attract. We've arrived at the moment I've been promising since the beginning. Compliment number 7. The most surprising one on the list. The most counterintuitive. The one that seems like it shouldn't work and yet works with an effectiveness that still surprises me when I see it happen in real life. You're the kind of person who makes me want to be better. And I don't say that to just anyone. This compliment has 3 layers and each one activates a different psychological trigger. The first layer is admiration. You're saying that her presence has a transformative effect on you, that she inspires you to grow. This is one of the deepest compliments that exists because it goes beyond physical attraction and enters the territory of genuine admiration. The second layer is exclusivity. I don't say that to just anyone. This part is where the real magic happens, because you're communicating that she's not just another person, that what you're sharing with her is something rare, something you protect and don't give out freely. And women respond viscerally to the feeling of exclusivity. Not to empty privilege, but to the real sense of having been chosen to receive something most people don't receive. The third layer is honest vulnerability. You're positioning yourself as someone who still has things to learn, someone who's still growing. And men who admit they're still growing are infinitely more attractive than men who pretend they've already arrived somewhere. This entire line communicates, I respect you enough to be honest. I admire you enough to let you see me under construction, and you are special enough to hear this from me. This is the line my friend heard at that event. This was the line that changed everything for her. If you made it to number 7, you already know this content is different from anything else you'll find out there. So do yourself and a friend a favor. Share this video right now with that friend you know needs this. Send it to the group chat, send it directly, share it on your stories. It costs you nothing and it could change the love life of someone you care about. Compliment number 8. You seem different today. In a good way that I'm still trying to figure out. This compliment works because it does something very few men do. It shows that you pay attention. Not in an invasive or intense way, but in a way that communicates real presence. You're saying that you know her well enough to notice a change, that you observe her with genuine attention. And at the same time, the second part of the line, that I'm still trying to figure out, keeps the mystery open. You didn't solve the puzzle. You invited her to solve it with you. And that creates a conversation where she naturally starts to open up, to talk about how she's feeling, about what changed. You created an emotionally safe space with a single line. And the more she opens up to you, the more she trusts you, and the more she trusts you, and the more she opens up to you, the more she opens up to you, the more she trusts you, and the more she trusts you, and the more she trusts you, and the more she trusts you, the more attached she becomes. This compliment is especially powerful when she really is having a different kind of day. When something happened, when she's more confident or lighter than usual. It shows that you're not just looking at her, you're actually seeing her. Have you ever noticed a subtle change in someone you admire and said something about it? What was their reaction? Tell me here because the stories that show up in the comments on this channel are always incredible. Compliment number 9. The way you laugh at things I say has become one of my favorite things. Think about everything that's already been said to her before. Think about how many men have complimented her smile, her eyes, her hair, the way she dresses. Now think about how many men have told her that the specific way she laughs at something he does has become one of his favorite things in his daily life. That number is close to 0. And that is exactly why this compliment is so hard to forget. It is ultra personal. It cannot be copied and pasted from one conversation to another. It's about something that happens between the two of you and no one else. That kind of specificity creates a bond that goes beyond attraction. It creates a shared universe, a closeness that only the two of you have access to. And when you verbalize that, when you say that this detail has become something special to you, you're telling her that she is irreplaceable, that the particular way she reacts to your humor is something no other person can offer you. This is one of the most elegant ways to create exclusivity without having to directly say, "You're special to me." You show it. You don't say it. And showing always matters more than saying. Compliment number 10. I disagree with you, but I deeply admire the way you think. This one breaks a pattern that many men have, which is agreeing with everything the woman they're interested in says out of fear of creating conflict. The problem is that when you agree with everything, you disappear. You stop being a presence with your own opinion and become a mirror that simply reflects what she says. And a mirror doesn't generate attraction. Attraction happens through tension. Not through arguments, not through disrespect, but through the healthy tension of two people who think differently and deeply respect each other anyway. When you say, "I disagree with you, but I deeply admire the way you think," you do several things at once. You position yourself as someone with their own perspective, which is rare and attractive. You show genuine respect for the way she processes the world, even when you arrive at different conclusions than she does. And you create a dynamic of intellectual equality where both of you can be yourselves without pretending. That's the kind of foundation women look for in relationships that last. And when you plant that seed early on, you set yourself apart from everyone else who's busy agreeing with everything just to please her. Are you the type who goes along with everything to avoid friction, or can you stand your ground with respect even when the other person thinks differently? Comment. This is a topic that sparks a lot of great conversation on this channel. And now we've reached the last one. Compliment number 11. This one requires a level of courage that few men have, but when you use it at the right moment, it's devastating in the most beautiful way possible. At the end of a conversation, when you're both saying goodbye, you say, "You know, I was doing just fine before I met you. Now not so much." This line is the power it has because it delivers everything at once. Vulnerability, humor, charm, and emotional confession, all in a package that doesn't feel rehearsed. And that balance is exactly what makes it impossible to ignore. You're not crying, you're not asking for anything, you're not being dramatic. You're simply being honest in a light way, with a smile implied in the sentence about the effect she had on you. And she leaves with that. She gets in the car, gets home, is in the middle of something else, and remembers it. Because the line opens a question without resolving it. What exactly changed in him? What did she cause? That question is going to stay in her head. And while she's trying to find the answer, she's going to be thinking about you. The timing here is crucial. This line works at the close of a meeting, of a conversation that was especially good, of a moment in which the connection was real. It's not something to throw out at any time. It's for when you genuinely felt something, and when the moment between the two of you was good enough that she knows it wasn't an act. So, you made it to the end. And that already says a lot about you because most people open a video and close it before it's halfway done. The fact that you're here right now, taking all of this in, means that you take your love life seriously. It means you understand that attraction is not luck, it's awareness. It's attention. It's the ability to truly perceive people and communicate that in an honest and precise way. I want you to leave this video not with a list of lines to memorize. I want you to leave here with a new way of looking at the woman you want to win over, shifting your focus away from what you're going to say to impress her and toward what you genuinely notice about her. Because when you do that, when you pay real attention, the right words come naturally. And when the right words come naturally, they reach a place that no script could ever reach. You don't have to be the best-looking man in the room. You don't have to be the richest, the funniest, or the most popular. You have to be the man who sees her, the man who notices, the man who communicates what he notices with presence and with truth. That man is rare. And now you know how to be that man. If this video shifted something in the way you think, tell me in the comments which of the 11 compliments you're going to try first. I read every single comment and reply as much as I can. Hit the like if you made it to the end because you deserve all the content that's coming your way. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.